The remaining 16 all rest on their identical Mistral boards, waiting for the start gun to begin the 23-mile leg to Cowes on the Isle of Wight, racing across some of the most treacherous seas on the south coast, now whipped up by Force 8 gales. The sailors jockey for the best position on the line, making last-minute checks on equipment and compass bearings. Tension builds as they pull in the sail and power away. They're off. Ben Oakley and Justin Taylor from Hayling Island chase the Frenchman Marc Neuberg, the 79 world champion. He takes an early lead. Mighty Mike Todd is hooked into the harness, his body weight taking the strain of the strong wind. Graeme Fuller, the oldest man in the race at 34, needs all of his experience to cope, while Brighton's Chris Jackson finds the going tough. Ben Oakley challenges for the lead, going through the roughest part of the course, just off the Needles, as Guy Farrant takes the drop into a deep 15-foot trough between waves, absorbing the shock with his knees. The wind's Gale Force 8 out at sea, and even for some world-class competitors, the conditions are just too rough. Having survived the wild water, diminutive Marc Neuberg takes on the power as he eases into the calmer seas of the Solent. Surging up to speeds of 20 miles an hour, the rescue boats have difficulty staying with him. At the last checkpoint, just off Yarmouth in the Isle of Wight, with 8 miles to the finishing line at Cowes, Marc has over a minute lead from Ben Oakley. He's powering along the Solent, slowly reducing the gap. On reaching the mark, Ben decides to take a gamble, pulling out his dagger board to reduce drag in the water, enabling him to sail faster, but making the board much less stable. He quickly resumes his sailing position and heads off on a new bearing, intent on catching Marc. But near the end, Ben realizes the leader's caught in a patch of light wind near the sheltered finish line. Marc's just 30 yards from the line, with Oakley seconds behind. Ben moves even closer. Marc falls in a sudden wind shift. One more mistake now could cost Marc the race after 23 grueling miles. Marc just makes it and falls exhausted onto his board.
You were first across the line.
The wind, very strong and very nice.
And Ben, second across the line today?
Yeah.
How did you find it out there?
Got a nice backache to prove it.
What, the harness?
Yeah. Quite scary at times as well.
No, it's, I think, actually, in all the time I've been windsurfing, I reckon this was the toughest thing I've ever seen.
In total contrast, the third day's bright sunshine and light wind with a Le Mans-type start. The sailors vie for position, trying to find clear, undisturbed wind as they start pumping their sails, working them backwards and forwards to increase their board speed. They pass through a fleet of yachts, preparing for their own race. Neuberg catches a gust of wind, taking him out in front, the position he likes best, and he's determined to ensure that no one gets past him. The lead boat shows the way along the 14 miles to Hayling Island as the sailors work hard at pumping, extracting more power from their sail. The Dutchman, Paul Meister, has Marc in his sights and pumps with all his might to catch up. The fleet chases further down the Solent past an American aircraft carrier. Kalle Niemann from Finland, and Jan Vannguard pursue Paul Meister, whose challenge has been beaten off by Neuberg, but pumps madly in an attempt to get back on terms. Neuberg now rounds Horse Sands Fort. On the final turn into Hayling Island, there's just 4 miles to go. Having taken a different course and seemingly appearing from nowhere, young Dave Perks times his challenge brilliantly. He overtakes Marc in the last few hundred yards, with the rest closing behind. It's tactical make or break. Marc, on the right there, counters his attack by moving behind and stealing Dave's wind, hoping to slow him down and retake the lead. Perks sees the threat and moves away, but Marc follows again, trying to get back in front, but he's left it just too late. Dave inches home, just ahead to level the overall position between him and Marc with just 1 day to go. Today's been a tough one. Tomorrow, another day. What did Dave Perks think of Marc's challenge?
Well, he looks a bit fitter than me, and I'm a bit tired at the moment. See how it goes.
What about David? You're equal first. Do you think you can beat him today?
Well, maybe, yeah. I think so.
Get out there, fall in once, and you think, oh my God, 40 miles? Don't believe it.
It's 40 miles. Can you stay the distance?
We'll wait and see, won't we?
Okay.
I want to. Desperately.
They line up for the start, and they're away on a 40-mile figure-of-8 course set in Chichester Harbour, as sea conditions make the passage to Brighton impossible for any craft. The strong winds are just too much for many competitors who can't hold on, while others streak off like speedboats, leaving long white trails behind. Falling off at these speeds can hurt. Hawaii's Fraser Black screams to the front, but the others don't have quite the same control. They frequently wipe out. Black's going flat out, but at the first turn, even he can't hang on. Neither can Marc Neuberg. Or Mike Todd. Off up the course to the next mark, Fraser turns in second position behind Mike Todd as he loses his sail. But after regaining control, he takes the lead. Turning at each end of the course proves the greatest problem and spreads the fleet out over the figure-of-8 course. Halfway through the race, the weather closes in as the full power of the storm takes effect. And the wind strength is recorded at Gale Force 10, 60 miles an hour. The storm's unrelenting. Many have to retire, others prefer to sit it out. Incredibly, Fraser Black sails on. As the storm clears, the race is on again, and Caldwell shows superb style and control in turning his board round. He's well placed in third, but few are left. Neuberg's had enough and retires to a rescue boat, while Fraser's literally miles out in front, having ridden out the storm. And the sun breaks through, making conditions perfect for high wind sailing. The windsurfers revel in these conditions for a few miles before exhaustion takes over. And in true marathon style, it becomes a survival of the strongest. Each sailor loses touch with the next, occasionally crossing or passing. The strain of racing over 4 consecutive days is really taking its toll. The movement's endless. Each wave must be absorbed by the legs and the body. The arms pulled out. Arms and backs now sapped of strength. Fraser's so shattered, he falls just before the finishing line. But he needn't worry, because he's so far in front. Black's the winner on the day, but this doesn't affect the overall position, which has still got to be decided. Marc Neuberg retired during the storm, leaving Dave Perks to try to fight his way through the field for a high enough position to ensure first place. The rest of the fleet have to complete as many laps as Fraser to count. Ben Oakley pulls off a spectacular flare jibe round the bottom mark and goes on to finish 5th on the day, 3rd overall on the marathon. Jan Vannguard fights on for another 4 laps, finishing 6th out of the 12 sailors who complete the course, as Britain's Mike Todd takes 2nd place and leaps for joy at the relief of finishing. He sailed the last few miles with leg cramps to keep Caldwell behind him. He too leaps off his board as he crosses the line in 3rd place, 4th overall. But what did the competitors make of the day?
It was windy.